Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Whatta Bout Sumo, the actual show that I want to be making on this YouTube channel. A lot of you probably came here because I recently put out the Hatsubasho 2020 highlights and storylines sort of sumo music video. And while I definitely want to continue making those end of Basho highlight reels, what I'm actually inspired to do on this channel is have a sort of more long form content where I actually talk about all the bouts as we see them happen during the Basho. And my plan is to do an episode every 5 days of a Basho. So we're doing day 1 to 5 today. And then we'll be doing day 6 to 10 and day 11 to 15. And at the end of it all, I'll sort of put out the edited music collection of highlights and storylines for the Haru tournament as a sort of finale. But these videos, I hope, will be a sort of trampoline and stomping puddle for me to really hatch out what storylines I think are interesting during the Basho and what storylines I think other people will find interesting as well. Now, there are some things I want to clarify. This is going to be analytical sumo content, but a very important fact is that I, Wada, am not a long-time, super experienced sumo expert. I am what I would describe as a very dedicated fan, and I've been watching sumo since around the time of the Kisuno Sato Yokozuna promotion. So it's been 3 years roundabout. And I have been very actively watching sumo, trying to understand sumo, learning more and more about the sport, communicating with people who are smarter than me, listening to a lot of content by people who also spend a lot of interest on sumo. But I will definitely not know things. I will definitely get things wrong. And one of my hopes for this series of videos, if you want to call it a podcast or just a video breakdown series, is that I want to encourage you guys to fill in my blanks. I will make statements like, I think he was going for this grip for this reason, and if you disagree, I'd love it if you commented your reasoning for specific bouts, specific styles, and so we could sort of get an elevated discussion going about the actual fighting that happens in the ring in sumo. Because what I see with sumo content a lot, and what I've sort of not yelled with as a fan, is I've always been a fan of analytical breakdown of what's actually happening in a sports game that I'm watching. Now, I come from a background of being a big esports fan before I jumped into sumo, and watching people who are analysts of those games really break down strategies and tactics and styles and trying to shadow box stylistic matchups has always been my favorite content, be that in podcast form or in this kind of analytical breakdown content. So in this Whatta Bout Sumo series, I want to sort of give that to sumo. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm the best person for that job. I have a big mouth, I can talk a lot, but I'm definitely not the biggest expert. The guys who do the English broadcast commentary know a lot more about sumo than I do, but my greatest issue is that they don't do this kind of content themselves. So I'm going to do it and hope that one day maybe they'll do it instead, or they'll comment in the comments and I can learn and become that kind of expert over the years. But for now, it's going to be a lot of guesswork. Now, what I am good at is structuring analytical thinking. So I want to start out by just going through one model that I use when talking about sumo matches that I will be referencing a lot in my analysis of these bouts. And it's this big ring that you see right here. Now, I'll be using the EpicPen program to draw a bit. So if you see scribbles like this, that's just my drawing. But as you can see here, I have a dojo, and the black line is the Tawara. So don't step over that. And inside and outside the Tawara are sort of my zones of positioning. So I call them the Tachiai position, position 2, position 3, and position 4. And sometimes I refer to them as phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and helpfully the letter P can stand for both. And I tend to look, especially at Oshi matches, with this kind of lens. So if we see wrestler in blue and wrestler in pink smash into each other at the Tachiai, we can maybe see them move forward. So wrestler in pink might get an offensive position where he's pushing and moving forward through phase 2 into phase 3. But then during phase 3, we might see wrestler in blue find a lateral position, a reversal, and a push out here. Now that is the kind of interesting thoughts that I like to see, because then we can find interesting ideas about the match. Like, is wrestler 2 habitually stronger at lateral movement in phase 3? Or is he stronger at lateral movement in phase 4? Can we learn anything from this? Can we find stylistic matchups? Like, let's say we have wrestler in pink, and let's say we have a pattern in his fighting that he's very, very strong in phase 2, and he usually finishes at phase 4, but he has a pattern of overextension in phase 3, and overextending, like leaning too far forward, becoming vulnerable to a hatakikomi or other slapdown technique. Then we can recognize this pattern, and we can see, okay, who's very strong at performing slapdowns in phase 3. So if I was to shadow box here, for example, I might take that example then of, let's say, wrestler in pink is Onosho. And Onosho is this guy. He's very strong in Tachiai in phase 2, usually manages to move forward very well. And I think that he's pretty good here as well in the phase 4. But he's weak to lateral and especially slapdown techniques in phase 3. So if we have wrestler in blue Aoyama, who is also a strong Tachiai and has a strong phase 2, but usually can back off more during Tachiai phase 2, but he's pretty adept at phase 3 slapdowns. So if Onosho sort of hits the wall, I can shadow box the idea that I think that in this matchup, unless Onosho finds a particularly strong phase 2 where he can just blast Aoyama straight out, usually I would suggest that Onosho might trip up here on a barrier and hit the ground around here. And we might mark a black X that Onosho is definitely out here, that he hits the ground and sort of face plants. Now, all of this is, of course, speculation, but it's based on these observations. And this is how I like to talk about sumo bouts. Now, when it comes to storylines, this is probably the main reason that I'm really into sumo. I think the sumo births these amazingly complex storylines because of the tournament structure. I'm a big fan of the limited round robin tournament structure and the Bansuke system when it comes to allowing storylines. What I sort of want to do is I want to look at my pre-Basho expected storylines, and based on those, I want to see what's holding up through the first 5 days and what's not holding up. How are these storylines evolving? So this was my list of 10 storylines that I hope will wake up some kind of fire in the crowd. Now, there is no crowd in the Haru Basho 2020. Thank you, coronavirus. But at least in the online crowd and in the Western community, as how we watch sumo, right? So the first storyline that I really want to look at is, are the Yokozuna just done now? Now, this storyline comes out because in Hatsu, as we all remember, both Hakuho and Kakuryu got 1 win each. Then I think Hakuho lost 3 bouts, Kakuryu lost 4 bouts, and they both pulled out. Notably, they both lost to Endo, and they both lost to Myogiryu. Endo, I think, had some pretty legit wins over both of them. Myogiryu seemed to get both of them as they were already on the way out. I also think that Endo is a far superior wrestler to Myogiryu, so losing to Myogiryu is, of course, a bit more humiliating for the Yokozuna. Although Myogiryu has a storied history of being very, very talented, I'm talking about current shape. I don't think Myogiryu really matches up to Endo in that matter, whereas Endo I see is a bit of a contender. But are the Yokozuna just done now? Now, looking at the Haru Basho so far, I think that this storyline is a definitive no. Hakuho is 5-0. Kakuryu is 4-1, and I think that they're looking quite fine. So if we have the Basho right here, Hakuho is at 5-0. We have Kakuryu at 4-1, and if we look at their quality of opponents, I'd say that Hakuho has been squashing down a lot of people that we thought could be a threat to him. Obviously, he defeated Enho, who had his number last time, and he did so quite convincingly. He then squatted down Daieisho, who also got a win off him recently. I think it was in Kyushu. Then he squatted down Takayasu, who's been on a slide. And then he put down Okinomi, who's been a solid top Yoi wrestler for a while, having a bit of a resurgence recently. I think it was quite recently that he was a usual contender for one of the tournaments. And Tokushoryu, of course, the previous usual winner, who had a stellar overperformance in Hatsu, won the whole thing. So if we look at that, I think that it's quite clear that Hakuho is healthy again. But I do want to look a little bit at his quality of sumo. So if we squat down here, I have all of the bouts right here. So I want to look at his Endo match. That should be at the end of the first day. And we can see the two fighters here. We can look at the stances. They seem to be going quite well. We check the tachi. We see the standard Hakuho slap. And then we see him going in with the elbow. So this is how Hakuho also crushed Endo in Kyushu, if you remember their bout back then. We had Hakuho getting close to a knockout onto Endo with the follow-up elbow. And something similar happens here where he gets a clear advantage in the initial tachi. We then see Endo immediately hit the ground and Hakuho landing on top of him. Now, if I follow this, right, I want to look at the tachi here. So we have the slap, we have the follow-up elbow blast, and Endo is just completely out of positioning right here. So if we can see Endo, he already has his back turned to Hakuho. So Hakuho has a very strong position here, driving onto his side. And this is all tachi advantage. It's that aggressive Hakuho style that we know and some of us love. I do love it personally. We see here from the other direction. Video courtesy of Natto Sumo, by the way, fellow Swede, and spiritual successor to Kintaro Yameyama. I think that these videos are clearly the best because he shows us all the angles on the replays. They're what I use to edit as well later when I make the highlight video. I really want to check this again. How does Endo lose his footing here? It's a step that goes 2 out as Haku already has pressure. Endo gets low, but he doesn't really have any strong leverage on Haku at all. Haku is higher, but not high enough where it's a problem. And he just completely pushes him down as his footing is very weak from this position. Haku does slip, however. So this is something that I do want to note. Hakuho's sumo, while definitely still good, I mean, he's 5-0 for a reason. Haku does not have a lot of power right now after the tachi if he's not in a yotsu situation. So that's something that I've noted. I think we'll see that in a later situation as well as I move on to another bout. I want to look at his Daieisho match. We see that right here. We see them lining up, right? We have Daieisho here, a very strong pusher thruster right now. Probably, I'd say like the 4th or 5th best Oshi guy in the tournament right now. We see him charge up, and he launches. And Hakuho does not look too strong here, but he does get the double inside. So with the Morozashi, of course, it's basically over. Daieisho is not a belt wrestler, and Hakuho is the greatest belt wrestler. So looking at double inside grip here. I don't want to say, is the arm inside? Yeah, the arm is definitely inside. But even that, Hakuho's feet, they're not planted, right? So you see him sort of struggle in the situation, even though it is definitely an advantage situation for him. He can't just route Daisho out. Instead, he goes for the throw and once again face plants the kiss right on top of Daisho's face. I find this worrying. This is not the Hakuho that just routes everyone. But what Hakuho does have, as we've seen, is that he can pull out a 50-0 just from his ring sense. I also want to note that Hakuho is still the greatest chest-to-chest wrestler that there ever was. If you see his Tokushoryu match right here, he actually looks a little bit shaky in the Tokushoryu match, I thought. On day 5, we see them fighting, and Tokushoryu does get the inside, so it's not a double inside for Hakuho, but of course Hakuho doesn't really mind that. But here, we see Tokushoryu able to just charge. Unfortunately, he is in... If we look at the charge on Tokushoryu, we see them sort of jumping around in this area. If Tokushoryu is in blue, Hakuho is in red. We see them in this kind of position. Tokushoryu gets the swap around on him. So when Tokushoryu finally gets the position on Hakuho, he gets a good... Oh, that was not purple. I mean pink. He gets the position on Hakuho. He does manage to drive. He has all this space. See? He's in a defensive phase 3 when he starts to drive an offensive push. So Hakuho has a lot of space to just leave back. And this is something that Hakuho can use to his advantage. See, if Hakuho lets Tokushoryu just drive here and push him back, this uses a lot of energy from Tokushoryu. And then poof, no energy left. We see him fall down. We can see it better in the live play, I think. As we see them here, he gets the reversal. Tokushoryu gets to drive all this distance. Look here, he had to drive from... Whoops, it is. He had to drive all the way from back here. He drove all the way here, right? And then that uses so much energy because Hakuho gets the position and allows him to drive when there's a lot of dojo space left over. Again, the ring sense coming out advantageous. And we see Tokushoryu is exhausted, Hakuho can pull the throw. This is why I think Hakuho is the best chest-to-chest wrestler in sumo probably ever. Now, there's a lot of, like, of course, I'm not going to go into first episode of my Sumo Breakdown show and start the discussion, who is the best sumo wrestler of all time. But my opinion is that specifically in the chest-to-chest clinched position, Hakuho is the greatest we ever had. I'm pretty sure that his bout here with Takayasu also ended up chest-to-chest. No, wait, this was the one where he flourished on ring sense as well, right? He had a slap. We see again a bunch of Oshi. A lot of chaos here. Now, Takayasu, he is a guy that opens up the space between the two wrestlers a lot with his tachi. It's always been a bit of his style. He goes in with the thick shoulder at the beginning. We can see it here. The Takayasu charge. Right there. He can't actually get it in this fight because the Hakuho's slap just moves his head. Hakuho talked about this in an interview once, how the purpose of his slap actually is to, if we go back to my ring, when you get the tachi going, if Hakuho remains in... Now he can change to blue. Hakuho gets to be blue now. If Hakuho wants to charge right here, and his opponent wants to charge, but then he slaps him, he can move his opponent to the side, allowing him to plant his head right here, and he can get an advantageous center position in the initial clinch right from the start. Now what Takayasu wants to do is Takayasu usually wants to go in with the shoulder blast, allowing him to hit here and get a space position where the other guy is here and Takayasu's body has not necessarily followed. Now from this position he can start a phase 2 and phase 3 that usually moves very chaotically. Takayasu usually moves all around the ring with his fighting during phase 3. Always, however, remaining with his back to the middle so that he has a lot of space to play with and hoping that the space and the chaos of the fight can usually allow his opponent to mess up. I can hopefully show this some other time with Takayasu if I ever do like a detailed Takayasu breakdown. But what we see here is that Haku is not allowing this, right? Because he gets the slap, it isn't separated from Takeyasu, he takes control of positioning. You can see that his feet are, even if he is a bit to the side, his head is more centered than Takeyasu's. Instead, Hakuho takes the offensive phase 2 position, right? And almost a phase 3. With Takeyasu way back, Hakuho way forward. Already has the stability. Now, it is frantic from here, naturally, because it is a Takeyasu match. But Takeyasu is not in his preferred position. He would like this fight to be happening with him standing in this position instead, with the bodies swapped. So we move on. We see Haku just keeps pushing, keeps the offensive. Here, Takeyasu actually starts to move forward. And once again, we see Hakuho utilizing the space that he has in the dojo, his ring sense, to give up a little bit of space, tire the other guy out, and then go for the reversal. Haku's so good at this. And he goes for reversal, he gets the push, he pushes Takeyasu into a phase 4 situation. Takeyasu touches the Tawara, which means we are officially in a phase 4 situation with his feet on the Tawara. Now, if we look at what Haku actually does in this situation, he allows Takeyasu once again to fluster, get pushed back, tire him out, and gets the Yorikiri. What's this called, a Yorikiri? I think it might have been called let's see, it was called Yorikiri. So, might have been called an Oshidashi. Not sure about how the hand positions were. But it's not a chest-to-chest match, because the point I was trying to prove is, of course, the chest-to-chest prowess of Hakuho. So let's get the matches back up. I think it was day 4 then that I had a stellar chest bout from Hakuho, I remember. This is, of course, the Takeyasu injury. We can talk about that later. Let's see. Hakuho here against Okinomi. Hakuho, again, I think best chest-to-chest wrestler of all time. Okinomi, not a chest-to-chest slouch. He's pretty good in that style. We see a pretty even Tachi. We don't see the slap here, I think. Let me check for it. Nope, no slap. We see the Tachi come in. Hakuho is a little bit more sturdy. Okinomi sliding a bit, but they quickly move back. Hakuho is full control, though. His body shape is so pristine here. Okinomi a little bit slouched, a little bit flustered in his footing, trying to grasp for space. And here the tugging begins. So what Hakuho does here, right? You want to keep an eye on Hakuho's hips. Now, Hakuho's hips are probably the deadliest weapon in sumo. Because he uses his hips and the hip strength that he has to just tug the other guy laterally, slightly in a belt match. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. You see a movement. He's constantly looking for an opening. This is not a resting situation. We see the movement like this. He's looking for it. Constantly looking with the hip movement. Okinomi pushes. We once again see back space for Hakuho. Lots of dojo space as Okinomi starts a charge, which means that he has lots of space for reversals. And we see the reversal come in. He has the Watanage, his favorite throw. And boom. Doesn't actually have to do the Watanage. He just manages to move Okinomi out because he had superior hip strength in that situation. It's all about the hips when he comes in here, by the way. The ability to just pivot at this point, right? He uses this, gives up some space, finds dojo situation. He already knows at this point he doesn't need to Watanage. He knows exactly how much dojo space he's given up. And he can calculate that Okinomi's feet are going to cross right outside the Tawara. I'm very certain that he can do that. Look at that beauty. It's such a good pivot. All in those hips. So powerful. Haku's hips, I think, definitely the most deadly weapon in sumo. More than any other part of his strength. That's where a lot of it lies. His ability to pivot, stand chest to chest, shake off, find openings. It's all there. So, if we go back to the storyline list, are the Yokozunis done now? No, they're not just done. Hakuho might very well just 50-0 this whole tournament. Now, will he? I'd give it like a... maybe like a pure 50-50 that he just senshos or at least 14-1s this whole tournament. Now, Asanoyama is another guy who is looking 5-0. However, with a Fusen win in there over Takeyasu as he was injured in his match with Kakuryu on day 4. I'm really happy that we're seeing this Asanoyama. He's looked very dominant in these wins. I don't really have much to show in them. They're very standard, I think. The strength of Asanoyama, let's look at one of his fights. Here we have one. We're moving in against Daieisho, who had just gotten his ass beat by 2 Yokozuna. We're looking at a fight. Oh. So we have the Tachiai. Not much to look at. I think that Asanoyama's shape is pretty good in Tachiai. Looks fine. Daieisho's also coming in low. Daieisho actually wins space. So Asanoyama is in a defensive phase 3, I'd say here. Perhaps a phase 2. It's a little bit on the line. It is more of a phase 2 though, because it is Daieisho's first thrust as an offender in the offender? No, as an offensive person in this fight. However, we can see that Daieisho's body is a little bit turned like this, which I think is not advantageous. So the second push here that we just saw, that was very weak because of the bad position of his hips. If we go back to the start of the fight, we can see why that positioning is off. It's because of Asanoyama's Tachiai, where if we look at it, we see right here. Oh, can I not dot? Wow. No, I can't dot while doing that. Okay. So we see Daieisho getting the positioning, and he's still shaped, but this second thrust, Asanoyama gets his hand on him right here. Great defensive maneuver to get a little bit of forced lateral on the opponent. And what the effect of that is, if we look at the next hit, frame skipping it again, because of the bad positioning of this foot right here, this foot has to pivot around to get the next hit in, and that means that this arm has to stretch way too far. It will not get an effective hitbox on Asanoyama. So because this shoulder is just not physically engaged, it's not inside of his power circle or his like circle of frontal strength, this hit is very weak and easily repelled by Asanoyama, who wins space in the dojo. As we see continue, we see Asanoyama continue to win space. We see him continuing to win space. Daieisho just has absolutely no power left at this point. Asanoyama's positioning is way too strong. His back muscle is way too strong. He's not pivoting it. He's not shifting back at all from these hits. Very controlled, not overextending. See, this is the opportunity for a reversal, right? Because we have them on edge in the final phase 4 situation with Asanoyama in pink attacking, moving in, and this is where Daieisho has to basically look for a lateral, right? Because he does not have the power in this situation to fight back forward. This is just not going to work. But that was a terrible movement. Let me just quickly erase that. I was trying to make it cross like this. This is just not going to work because we've seen him move back this whole space. Asanoyama has just counted out every single attempt. It didn't work, didn't work, didn't work. He can't move forward, so he has to attempt the lateral. And when he does so... whoopsie daisy, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm just going to go back. We see the fight again. Again, the perfect block by Asanoyama. Great shifting, great defense. And the lateral is attempted. Asanoyama's not overextended. And because his pushing is still going strong, the lateral also fails. And we see toe touching right here. Looking fine. So I'm actually very satisfied with Asanoyama. I think this bout was probably one of his best. Of course, he's had some stellar performances in other ones, but I thought that just technically that bout looked really good. So Asanoyama looking fine for his 12 or 13 wins. Now, probably he should be fine with 12 wins, right? There's only one Oseki, so a lot of people speculating that it should be easier to get into the Oseki spot. 12 wins would be a perfect 33 wins, which is the usual sort of quoted cutoff point. I think that it should be fine. If he gets 13, though, it's guaranteed Oseki. There's no discussion about it at all. At 11, I think he could still probably make it. Especially if he beats like a a Yokozuna or otherwise highly performing individual in the final 5 days, I think that 11 wins could still clinch him the Ozaki slot. Now, for the next storyline that we're looking at, Endo and Hokuto Fuji get yet another try Komusubi. Will either of them actually make anything of it this time? Now, Endo Hokuto Fuji have sort of been in this spot where they have been in and out of Komusubi, otherwise shilling in the Yoi, getting anywhere from, like in Hokuto Fuji's case, all the way up to like 11, 12 wins. Endo sort of peaked at around 10. And then the star performance of these guys is right, the 9 and 6 versus the 7 and 8. I think Hokuto Fuji had like a streak of maybe 6 or 7 basho in a row where he was either 9 and 6 or 7 and 8. Endo's also not unfamiliar to those statistics. Let's just check Endo's record real quick. Go back to my cursor, get this. Let's check Endo. He has recently gotten 9 and 6, 7 and 8, 8 and 7, 10 and 5, 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 10 and 5, 9 and 6. So we can see that they're in this range. And even if back here he was still in the lower, he's been in the Yoi now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basho in a row. He's been in the Joy. And 2 of those here, he was a Komusubi. And those were, for sure, some of his more average performances, even if, of course, these 2 were also pretty average. But he had this big performance, and he had recently had this big performance with a double Kimboshi and a Shukunsho. Now, Endo's my favorite wrestler. Like, I'm going to be biased. I think Endo has the potential to do pretty much anything. But I really want to look at his bout on day 5, which I thought really showed a lot of his strengths, right? So let's find Endo right here. He's fighting Shodai, a guy who we'll be talking about later. Let's lower the volume a little bit for this one. So Shodai, by the way, has a pretty strong tachi, but it's a little bit coin flippy, so we sometimes see it just not work. That's my opinion, at least. And then Shodai is a pretty strong Tawara man. He has pretty good phase 4 defense. Is another thing that I've observed. He's not necessarily like a guy who springs for lateral. He more so, if we look at it, when he's in a phase 4 situation, he tries to aim for sort of swing downs around here, or just getting a guy to face plant in front of him, rather than going for the big lateral movement that we see someone like Abi doing, for example. But he's very strong at what he does on the Tawara, so his defense is definitely powerful. Meanwhile, Endo is another hip guy, right? I think that Endo's hips, very potent at not getting thrust down in sort of these overextended Yotsu situations, and it's always entertaining to watch. I love watching Endo fight. I think he's such a technical wrestler, the like of which I think he rivals pretty much everyone not called Hakuho on a technical front when it comes to throwing techniques, twisting of the hips, chest-to-chest matches. Beautiful sumo, in my opinion. Definitely my favorite wrestler. So here's what we're looking at. Of course, with Endo, we have to talk about mental stability, right? He's a little bit renowned as a choker, which is why he's been in the Joy for so long, not really promoted. So let's check it out. We see Tachai. Shodai moves forward, looking very good, moving into sort of the phase 3, phase 2 kind of situation. Then we can frame skip. We see the arm come up from Endo. Really swinging all the way back to the Tawara here, right? Shodai has to finish him off. How does Endo defend in phase 4? Gets the face punch. Oh, that's brutal. Really brutal stuff right here. But pivots, right? So again, those strong hips, strong back muscles, pivoting back, getting back into his own offensive phase 3, just moving forward. Shodai has absolutely no positional power in the situation. That's a Murasashi, isn't it? Yeah, it is a Murasashi. Shodai gave up the arm positioning and the grip positioning in favor of the stronger Tachiai. We can actually see where that happens. So as Shodai charges in, he goes for an Oshi attack, right? This is moving backwards, of course. We see that Endo actually gets the Murasashi right from the Tachi, I think. Yeah, he moves in there. Murasashi right from the start. Of course, moving in with those hands is what sort of gives Shodai the initial power. then we see it moving on. He moves forward, and now Shodai tries for one of his pretty powerful. This is exactly what I talked about, right? This is Shodai in blue being in a defensive position in phase 4 and trying for like the close to body swing down sort of. We see it move forward. Endo, however, wait, look at that leg pivot right here. This power pole that he has plants in the ground looks so good in this situation. And then moving. And we have a... That's a Yorikiri, isn't it? Pretty sure it is. Yes, Yorikiri. Pretty sure the hand was on the Mawashi in that situation. So, looking really good from Endo. Really enjoying his sumo, as I always do. Great those. There we go. And close it down. So, Endo, I think, is looking fine. Hokuto Fuji, now, he did upset Kakuryu on day 2, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, day 2, because my predictions were garbage for day 2. I got everything wrong. We have it right here. I think that really the slow motion replay is all we really need here. We see it here, right? So we see them going in, and this is just a case of muscling from Hokuto Fuji, right? So he gets the actually a lateral in phase 2. Phase 2 lateral right here to sort of bait Kakuryu into going a little bit too far forward, get a better position on him. And it's a delayed phase 2 lateral, right? It's not a henka, so it's right there, and then he can start driving with the muscle and a stronger body position. So we see right here he comes in and just moves, and this is what Hokuto Fuji does so well. We have the attempted phase 4 swing down from Kakuryu. He's pretty good at those, but just not working out this time. So that was his best bout, without a doubt. But overall, we see Hokuto Fuji sitting at a 2-3 right now, so not looking too good. That's not the page I wanted. I wanted this page. So he lost to Asanoyama, who's looking very, very strong. He lost to Daieisho, which I thought was a straight upset, and that's just a straight push out from Daieisho. Yu Takayama also looked brilliant on day 1 when he beat Hokuto Fuji. We can take a look at those two fights, actually. His fight against Yu Takayama and his fight against Daieisho. Let's see what we discover. I haven't looked too closely at these fights yet. So we see... That's not it. That's Mitakumi routing Enho. Should be later, right? Here's Asanoyama. I don't really know where we're looking for. This is a Sekiwaki match. This is it. This is Yu Takayama versus Hokuto Fuji. So let's have a look and see what we discover. Both pusher thruster guys. I think that Hokuto Fuji is a pretty straight-laced pusher thruster. He goes for the throat, he goes for it hard, and he likes moving straight forward. Yu Takayama is much more of a chaotic, lateral, all over the dojo kind of guy. I love Yu Takayama sumo. It's very entertaining. But it is a bit of a clash of Oshi styles right here. So let's see what we get. We see the strong hit. Looks pretty even to me. Yu Takayama seems to be winning out in phase 2. Moving his arms up, getting a bit of that pendulum arm movement going that he sort of shares with Abi a little bit, but of course not as extreme of a version of it. Very good arm pedaling. Just keeps working Hokuto Fuji. Hokuto Fuji never finds an in and doesn't get an opportunity for a phase 4 reversal. So it's just superior arm movement here from Yu Takayama as far as I can tell. We see it. Let's frame skip here. How does he really get this up? We really see this like block up of the arms from Yu Takayama. Looks really nice. And then just the pendulum swimming movements look so good here. Right on the throat. That's a big hit. And then he uses the opening. That big hit got Hokuto Fuji's body really high. Makes him easy to push. Moves in. You can see like a remnant of like an attempted ladder right here because he scooched all the way over here. So there is some kind of lateral reversal attempt, but I'm not seeing it function at all. Yuta Kayama just follows. Looks a little bit overextended, but the foot comes right along, follows up right here. This foot right here is pretty important. We see where it was, right? So if I move back again, this foot came all the way from back over here. If this foot moves shorter, there's a big chance for a reversal here. The push won't be as strong. Hokuto Fuji has time to really skip all the way over yonder, sort of. And then Yuta Kayama would be more overextended and might face plant right down. But that doesn't happen. Yuta Kayama, great footwork in this situation. And just move straight up. So, there we have that. Let's look at his other fight with Daieisho that he lost today. Looked like a pretty big upset to me. I was not happy with Hokuto Fuji Sumo on this day. So here we see... This is an Ozaki match. This is way too early. Way too late in the video. Here we see it. So we have them lined up right here. Let's see how this goes. Hokuto Fuji once again is just opened up at the Tachiya. It looks a little bit weak as he goes in. Then actually pivots quite a bit there. Let's see exactly how that happened. How does he get position back on Daieisho? That's the question. He sort of just arm wrestles him a bit here. Gets the throat lock. See here, right? He gets position on Daieisho because he goes low. Daieisho tries to pivot during this fight. So we see Daieisho in pink drawing now. He's lateraling because he recognizes that Hokuto Fuji's body is way too low and his foot is not in a good position. This is not touching the ground. It's not moving into a stable footing position. This is a attempt at a pivot, right? So we see that he lands, still overextended, still unbalanced. Daieisho, however, doesn't get too far. I feel like if Daieisho manages to lateral a little bit more to this kind of position, he is in a better position here. It's not perfect, but it's looking fine. Let's see, frame skipping from here. We see Daieisho get another nudge. He's just running away here, looking for an opening, gets the face slap. Disorientates on the approach here. That face slap really, like, look at it. It's as Hokuto Fuji comes in, right? He gets a face slap and he tries to push right through it. As he's already, like, flustered, overextended. His whole chase, Hokuto Fuji's just overextended. And then Daieisho gets the better positioning with his body. Keeps just dominating Hokuto Fuji in these trades. Trades of fist definitely in favor. Oh, I went a little bit too fast there. Let's see how that happened. Oh, it's just a beautiful footwork from Daieisho here as he moves forward. Sort of hopping from Hokuto Fuji. Gets him into phase 4. Let's see what happens in phase 4. How does Hokuto Fuji respond? Is there a lateral? Is there a swing down? There is a whole bunch of, I want to say, nothing. I actually skipped over it again there. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of nothing. There's just no positioning or energy left in that man. No lateral, no swing down. As expected of an Oshi guy, honestly, that he doesn't go for the swing down, but it is what it is. So here, it was just an over chase. He should have just routed, tried to go in stronger the next time. He had too much momentum from the trip up in the beginning. So if we move back, right as he gets tripped, right on this pull, there's a push there, there's a push there, and then here's the overchase. He goes in way too low, it's red like a book, and from this point on, he's just overchasing the whole time. And routed right out. I don't think that's a good look for Hokuto Fuji. I think it's not powerful enough, it's not strategic pushing. I think that's why Daieisho is winning right now. I still would rank Hokuto Fuji higher than a Daieisho, higher than a Yuta Kayama, but that really goes to show why I'm not that impressed by these two performances. Against guys that should be his main rivals in the Oshi division, right? So Endo, I think, is looking strong. Hokuto Fuji, I think, is looking weaker. Now, I hope that I've given enough justification for that to not just be called results-based analysis. Given that Endo has one more win than Hokuto Fuji. We could look at one of Endo's losses as well and see what really was down in those losses. So we lost to Hakuho and Takakeisho. I think Takakeisho is an interesting one, right? Because we haven't really talked about him yet. So that was on day 3. So let's look at Takakeisho. Here's the fight. I actually was worried about looking through these videos, seeing if I would actually be able to get this done in a proper manner. But it seems like it's working just fine without too much issue. So let's look at Takakeisho versus Endo. Let's go. Takakeisho, obviously a guy who's been struggling in this tournament, as we could see on his scoreline. Takakeisho himself is only 2-3, losing to Okinomi and Daieisho and Mitakumi. Now, Mitakumi is a 5-0 guy right now, looking pretty strong. I also think that Mitakumi looks good against Takakeisho. Now, obviously, the record is pretty even, but in my viewing experience, I always felt like Mitakumi was favored. It might be a little bit recency bias, though. But I think that during this streak, especially, like you can see him beating us several times in a row, we can really see how Mitakumi sort of had his number for a while. And then we saw a little bit more parity as Mitakumi has had a bit of a slide down recently. Of course, he won the Basho here, despite losing to Takakeisho. Wait, no, that's not what happened. Mitakumi did win Aki, winning a playoff against Takakeisho. That's what I remember. So, yeah, that's here. The same tournament, right? They fought twice. So he beat him in the playoff, lost to him in the official match. So I'm not too surprised about the Mitakumi defeat. But losing to Daieisho and Okinomi, I think, are looking really bad for Takakeisho. In the Okinomi one especially, he has kind of walked into a grip, which, of course, Takakeisho can't handle as the strongest Oshi guy, but also the purest Oshi guy. If he gets any kind of grip on him, he's over. So why doesn't Endo get a grip here? That's the question. What's stopping him? We see instantly Takakeisho's Tachi is just way stronger. Instantly opens up right on Endo's chest. What happened there? Let's check it out as we go backwards. We see the thrust in there. We're not seeing Takakeisho's wave sumo at all. Like, I've been describing Takakeisho's style as sort of this tempo-based wave sumo. And the absence of it is making me very, very sad right now. I think that was usually his strongest sumo, actually, when he was on the rise to become an Ozaki. But in this fight, we're just seeing Takakeisho just plant his feet. Endo just seems to be reeling this whole time. He's tries to get a grip here, actually. If we go back and look at that point, like he tries for the grip on the belt right here, does not get it, slips right out. Too much power coming in from Takakeisho right on his chest. Whoops, daisy, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get my mouse back. Why can't I get my mouse back? We see moving forward even more. We see the hands come in. Right here, guarding against it. He tries to go for the grip again here. And he has to just eat the chest hit, right? To try for the grip. He has to eat it entirely. And Takakeisho, with his short stature, comes in way lower than Endo can handle. Way too much power. He just moves him right back. So, Endo really, against these like super strong pusher thrusters, not looking too hot. I usually don't like him against someone like a Hokuto Fuji either. There's just way too much power for him to handle right on the chest. But I do like him against pusher thrusters that are a little bit more scrappy, weaker, anyone he can get a grip on, and I like him especially in Yotsu matches, right? I think it's good Yotsu to Yotsu. I think he dominates the mirror matchup there in a lot of ways. So let's look back at the storyline chart. Shodai Tokushoryu, are they contenders or pretenders? I want to start with Tokushoryu because I have an interesting thing that I've been thinking about his run, right? So Tokushoryu is 0-5, losing a lot. Of course, he won the last tournament. entirely from the lowest position on the Banske, so that was quite impressive. But his first 4 matches are just reading like a literal who's who of the guys he snubbed the title off from. So, of course, excluding Takakeisho, right? But that's coming up probably, I'd say, day 7. I guess he gets Takakeisho. Reading of how his matchups have been going, right? So he'll just get the whole Sanyaku all in ones. So you have Shodai, the guy he literally like denied the playoff match against. He beat him on day 14. Routed by Shodai. It wasn't even close. Asunayama comes in, the guy who was sort of struggling last tournament, which is why I was a bit worried for him coming into this one. Asunayama's been proving all doubters wrong. Routed Tokishoryu. Hokuto Fuji comes in, absolutely routed him. Endo comes in and it's a bit more of an even match, but that's what you get with Endo. Endo doesn't really destroy anyone, not called Goeido. And of course, that's another reason I like Endo. He has always had Goeido's number. But Endo doesn't really usually destroy anyone. Finally, he gets a pretty nice move on him. And then Hakuho comes in today. And the Hakuho Tokishoryu one on day 5, I think is really interesting, right? So we see day 5, we see the Hakuho match against Tokishoryu. Let's just start from this position on the replay. We see them both come in at the beginning. We see the Tachiai. Hakuho moves forward. Has a lot more like again, it's the fact that his hips are so powerful that allows him to just move forward like that, like it's nobody's business. Already as Tokishoryu in a phase 4. Tokishoryu moves back out, and then we saw the rest of this fight, right? We looked at this already. We saw Hakuho just manipulating Tokishoryu. He allows the reversal, but then re-reversals it. And then lets Tokishoryu drive, and as he tires him out, it's over. We already watched this. I remember now. We already watched this whole thing when we were talking about Hakuho. But from Tokishoryu's perspective, right, that is just a loss by sort of fight strategy. I don't see it as just an inherent weakness. So my take on Tokishoryu is actually that last tournament, when he won it all, he didn't win it in spite of being M17. He won it because he was M17. So if we want to look at the Basho for last tournament, right? We had Tokishoryu winning it all from the lowest rank. We have the fact that the guys that he had to face is a Juryo man, M16, 16, 17, 15, 14, 13, 13, 12, 12. And then he starts getting some matches. 11. And then he actually beats these guys, right? He actually beats Takakeisho. He actually beats Shodai. He actually beats Yu Takayama. Now, those are the fights that a lot of people are calling like the proof that he really deserved the tournament. And I don't disagree. He did deserve the tournament. This is a very legit win from him. But let's not hide the fact that he was enabled by getting all of these easy matches in the beginning. I think that his actual level, rank-wise, of this tournament would be where he ended up. He was probably like an M3 to M4 guy in this tournament. Of course, that is way punching above his rank, right? It's a form way higher than he is supposed to have. But by being an M2 to M3 level guy, ranked M17, he is allowed a bunch of matchups where he has a substantial advantage until he starts getting into these fights. And as an M2 guy, you can take a fight of Takakeisho. You can take a fight of Shodai. Shodai himself was an M4 guy. I think he was doing quite nicely. You can be helped by the fact that a lot of people were underperforming. We had a pretty weak showing from Itakumi. We had Myogiryu really not living up to his rank. We had Takayasu dropping down. We have Goeido doing so badly he in-tied. We have both Yokozuna going Kyujo within the first 5 days. So in this fight, right, Abi wasn't doing too hot. It was basically just Hokuto Fuji, who we never had to fight. Tokishoryu never fought Hokuto Fuji. And Endo, who we also never had to fight, who were doing well up here. Instead, he had to fight Takakeisho, who was doing well. But, of course, an M2 level guy can upset an Osaka. It happens. And that's good enough to earn the title. I'm just really sad that it didn't get to fight Hokuto Fuji and Endo. I think that would have really cemented the title. But, of course, these two guys had other issues. They had more issues than Tokishoryu. They lost to other guys, like Hokuto Fuji here, losing to... let's take a look at his scoreline, right? he lost to Shodai, Abi, and Asuniyama. Now, Tokushoryu didn't lose to Shodai. He didn't lose to Yu Takayama on the final day either. Those things matter. He didn't fight Asuniyama or Abi. That's another one that I think that he should probably be fighting. He should probably be fighting Asuniyama. Hokuto Fuji, Endo, and Asuniyama. He sort of got to snub them, right? He got to beat them without fighting them because of their faults, not because of his wins. And while that still makes it very much a deserving title, he did win whoever was put in front of him, except for Kaisei. This is a legit win that was, but we shouldn't hide the fact that it was helped by the fact that he was underranked compared to his actual shape. So when we look at this, we have all the guys he was supposed to fight last time. We have Asuniyama, Hokuto Fuji, Endo, all in a row. He gets routed by all of them. And then Shota gets his revenge and completely shows him who is the superior wrestler. And then he gets to fight Hakuho as like, what can you do in the Joy? And Hakuho shoves him out like he's Nishikigi, you know? Very excited to see him fight Kakeru tomorrow. Hope he gets Takakeisho again. See Takakeisho gets some revenge. I think this guy would be really interesting afterwards. Because I don't think he's looking like a worse wrestler than he was last time. I think that if we look at him against Shodai here, right? This is not Shodai and him. Shodai's Sekiwake. He should be later. No, wait. This is an Osaki fight. Shodai is right here, right? We look at him against Shodai. He gets the grip. He moves in. And he just moves out. It's very simple sumo. But I don't think he looks that much worse because of things like in his Endo match. Like, of course, Endo never wins fast, but that's not my point, so I won't make it. I already made it before. What fight is this? That's Yu Takayama. We think of it later. Here it is. Right? Actually, it was that kind of short bout, but it was contentious, I think. So, Endo moves in, struggles. Tokushoryu rallies. Like this rally, a worse wrestler wouldn't be able to do that. That rally's good. I think that he's looking like a solid Joey guy here, right? And then pivots right here, looks fine. A little bit more power, and he has Endo down here. But again, this is playing right into Endo's strength, like look, the pillar cementing in the ground. That strong leg positioning, right? So from there, moves again, another pivot, Endo's way superior at this game. Tokushoryu is just completely bent out of shape, literally, and it's over. So I think he's looking fine. I think Tokushoryu, despite the 0-5, he's fine, but contender, pretender, he's a pretender. Let's just not kid ourselves. Shodai, let's take a look at Shodai. So what fights did Shodai have? I don't have it fresh in my mind. Shodai had wins against Tokushoryu, as we discussed. Then he had Takayasu, who I don't really want to go into those spots too much. Takayasu's sort of like iffy, you know. He lost to Mitakumi, he lost to Endo, and he beat Enho. Now Enho he beat last time too. I don't think that's too interesting. So if we're looking at his wins, right? Tokushoryu, Takayasu, Enho. I'd have him beating all those three guys anytime. What he should be showing me as a Sekiwake is he should be beating Mitakumi. He should be beating Endo. Those are the other guys who are looking at the Sekiwake slot, saying like, hey, this should be mine, right? Mitakumi held the Sekiwake slot for a long time. Didn't see him losing too much to Endo, you know? So, really, I think that this is not Shodai's strongest showing. Now, he has Daieisho tomorrow. We'll see where he goes from there. I want to see him fight against the Yokozuna. I want to see him fight against Takakeisho again. I don't think it will be his tournament, if I say it that way. I think he's also in the pretender column. I think he's falling down. He'll probably get like a 6-9. That's my take. Now, let's have a look at the next one. Enho highlights, whoop whoop. Well, have there been any Enho highlights? Whoop whoop. We had him fight against Okinomi and Ryuden. That's where he clinched his wins. Now, Okinomi was one of his pretty standard at this point, phase 3 laterals. So what you see, let's compare Enho to Abi when it comes to defensive laterals, right? So if Enho or Abi is pushed back at Itachi, right? Let's say that they move sort of like this into like a defensive position. Now, what's interesting here is that Enho usually tries to lateral in this kind of position already. He goes for the lateral at this point and tries to pivot around to drive. However, with someone like Abi, when he's driven back, he likes to lateral in this position during phase 4 and just sort of abuse an overextension in a push out to get the other guy to just, you know, touch down right here. And then Abi usually has like his little Tawara dance where he can like step on the Tawara and save himself. But I don't see Enho doing that much. He doesn't seem to like the Tawara dance as much. Because Enho's course is way smaller, right? So he might get Urad and completely just fold it in two at the Tawara if he tries to phase 4. Much harder to lateral at this point. His lateral's much stronger in phase 3, a little bit sooner, and then he tries to turn around. We saw this a lot in Hatsu, actually. A lot of his wins were due to a phase 3 lateral in a defensive position. So let's have a look at his phase 3 lateral against Okinomi on day 5, right? So we have to go earlier in the day. Here's actually Abi lateraling really early for once. This is just an interesting little side story. He actually just sort of semi-henkad lateraling, like a phase 2 lateral already. So that's uncharacteristic for him. I'd say at least. We have a no-show. Where's Enho? I feel like we're too early for Enho now. What? Yeah, here he is. Oh, this is actually the fight. I'm stupid. That was the fight. Right here. So we're moving sideways instantly. Then Okinomi has an inside position in phase 2. And we see him sort of lateraling. I'm going to really show this. So Enho's currently in a defensive phase 3. Okinomi standing in sort of phase 2 position, but I call this an offensive phase 3. And the movement comes in. The movement comes in right here, right? So note that Enho did not get pushed to the Tawara before lateraling. He's lateraling earlier in late phase 3 as he sort of baited out Okinomi. And then he ends up on the Tawara at the end of the lateral, but that's just by nature of doing a lateral, you know? But it's not like as much of a Tawara dance. And then he still needs to use his own force. So Enho here has to use his own force to assert Okinomi out. He can't just abuse the overextension. Now, of course, he does utilize the overextension from Okinomi. Let's see where the overextension actually happens. How does he bait it out? Let's clear the screen. Go back to mouse. Let's look at it. Where does the bait out come for overextension? He's standing with his arm in. He's moving. He's lateraling. And you can see that Okinomi tries to catch him mid-lateral, but it's too late. Misses the timing. Overextended. But Okinomi can catch foot here, right? Had he not had Enho on his arm, looking to move him out. So I think that's an interesting stylistic difference between Abi and Enho, who are both good lateral, like turnaround guys. Is this difference between the phase 3 lateral, of course, ending up over here with the added pressure to move out, versus Abi's more pure laterals of just dodging, you know? Just dodging on the Tawara, having the guy move out on his own. So, let's look back at the storyline short. Enho highlights Whoop Whoop. Otherwise, Enho kind of hitting a rock this basho. He lost to Yutakayama, he lost to Shoda, he lost to Mitakumi. He looked pretty weak in all of those fights. I think that the Yutakayama fight is just, we have to watch it, right? Because it's something special. Let's go to day 3. Let's go to Yutakayama Enho. It's a long fight, so you know we're gonna see it. I think it's the longest fighter tournament so far. So we see Yuta Takayama does, for the second time, or maybe even third time, he does his... See, look how far back he's standing here. Look at this. Look at the distance he's creating for himself. There's no way Enho's getting in. Like, Enho's Tachi usually goes down and up at about this distance. He just can't get in on Yuta Takayama at this distance. He's completely shielded himself. And then he has... See, there's no Tachi. There's just none. There's no hit. This is strategy from Yuta Takayama. He's been studying Enho, dude. And he's the only guy who does this. He's done it twice, and it worked twice. And then we just see them go, you know? They just go. Remaining distant. Never letting him get a grip. Oh, we actually see, like, one of those overextensions right there. So we see, you're gonna scroll back. But because of the distance, right? Note how when Enho goes for this lateral, it's like a phase-free lateral because he's not being outed entirely. He does read Yuta Takayama's push. He does get the lateral. This is actually more like a phase-4 lateral. This is Abi-esque, I'm gonna say, from Enho. He does get the arm, but Yuta Takayama just slips right back. Note how he doesn't... He has an option here, right? Yuta Takayama, in this position, can either try to chase or distance. It's like, this is his position. He can either chase to try to get a second push, and that's, I can say, was where he loses. Or he can try to distance himself again and go back to his strategy. And he has... His head is very with it, right, at this point. That he's trying to keep his strategy. He goes back. Enho cannot push him out when he's facing forward again. And then he just goes in with the arms. And we see if I continue. He catches Enno's hand here because it just makes... It guarantees Enno not getting a belt grip. There's no belt grip opportunity at this point. And at a belt grip, Enno can do his weird, like what Enno likes doing, right? Is he likes getting... Because he's so tiny, he likes getting 1 foot here, 1 foot here, grabbing on the front and the back, and sort of positioning his body around the side of the opponent. And just moving them, like, in circles. So he will then, like, circle his opponent down, sort of. That's the Enho special. And by forcing him to grab the hands up here, right? He is entirely negating any possibility of that happening. Very good video studying here, I would assume, from Yuta Takayama. We see them recovering a bit. Yuta Takayama actually charges. Continuing on, keeping distance, not overextending. If you overextend against a good lateral fighter, you're dead. So he just keeps his feet under his body. Very good looking sumo from Yuta Takayama. Really exposing Enho's lack of weapons. Enho's, like, taking initiative for Enho is very difficult. He can't make the initial play a lot of times. He has to sort of predict the movement and counter it because of his size. And Yuta Takayama is just not letting him do that. If Yuta Takayama goes in, it's with a very safe attack that does not have an obvious counter. See him could be on. He goes low. Yuta Takayama does not let him get a counter. Keeps sticking away. Very long fight this. Really fun. And he gets the push. Finally, he just catches Enho making a mistake. Let's see exactly what the mistake was. Is that a failed lateral, I see? Yeah, he sort of... Let's see exactly how he bases it. He pushes Enho back. He goes in for a follow-up. Enho reads it. You can see the arms coming down for the push down and lateral. And he just catches him. Mid-lateral. It's just over. And we see it. Not allowed to do anything. So that was a good fight. Enho highlights would book. I think we got counter Enho highlights. Let's see if Enho can sort of turn it around, right? That would be very interesting. But it has not happened. Now, can Takakeisho pull ahead of the pack? That is my next question. The next storyline I'm keeping an eye on for the first 5 days. Let's see. Whoopsie daisy. I'm not seeing anything right now. There we go. Can Takakeisho pull ahead of the pack? Now he's 2-3, so he's by definition not pulling ahead of the pack. He lost to Okinomi, he lost to Daishu, lost to Mitakumi. Let's look at that, especially that Daieisho loss, because that was disgraceful. That's the great injury match. Here we go. This was so bad. Daieisho at this point, 0-3. Routed by the Yokosunas and Asanoyama. Looking like a failure. And then suddenly Takakeshi's like, hey, remember, these two guys are best friends. I don't want to put in expectations. I really don't. They probably both fought their best. But, you know, it's fun to make the joke, right? That, hey, Daieisho, let's just, you know, give you some hype by letting you beat me. Not what happened. Definitely not what happened. It's a funny joke, though. Daieisho just wins. It's so basic. Where's the footwork from Takakesho in this Tachiai? Look at this. Let's go back all the way to Tachiai. We see them come out. They hit about the same height. Takakesho is just pushed back. A little bit of an overextension. Daieisho gets low. Whoops, I go way too high here, right? Just like Takakesho. Look at how Daieisho, he recovers from this push from Takakesho, right? And then you see Daieisho here, he gets his head down right there. He gets under the body of Takakesho. He prolongs the clinch. He keeps their bodies closed. There's no distance at all. Takakesho's body's raised and it's just over. I don't like this from Takakesho at all. I don't like his extended body contact with another pusher thruster. That is not how I like seeing him fight. Let's actually find some video. I want to show you how I like seeing Takakesho fight. Right? I'm pretty sure I can find video of this. So let's find him fighting someone like Ichinojo. Is there video in any of these? I wish I had this ready beforehand. So here he fights Ichinojo. And this is early Takakesho, right? It's Maegashira free Takakesho. On his rise to become a Nozaki. And we saw a fight from him like this. This is in Kintaneyama's video of him. Against Sekiwaki Ichinojo, who looked very strong at this point. Now, we see Takakesho's style, right? This is what I called wave Zumo. Let's watch. He keeps right, then he moves back. Look at that move back. That was voluntary. He moved all the way back here. Voluntary move back. And another one. Look at that. That's a wave. He moves back. He moves back in. And it's all based on timing. He times Ichinojo's entrance. Let's look from the beginning again. He hits the Tachiai. He moves back. As Ichinojo extends into him, he instantly moves back, moves him back, wins space. When the space is won, move back. It's like a StarCraft game. You are here, your opponent is here, you push back a little, you change his position back, you win space, your opponent is now here, and then you don't keep chasing, you stabilize. And now you have a better position. This is strategy. I love this. Now, Ichinojo gets a pushback. He realizes he can't fight that. He moves back a little bit. Distance again. Make sure to limit your losses. He only loses a little bit of space here, right? He moves the hands down. He protects his face. Protects himself. Shields again. Again with the hands. Now, he countered. Very good. Wins distance. Face slap. Disorientate. It goes in again. Now he goes faster between times. Again, changing the tempo, confusing the opponent. Move back, hand slap. Move back, hand slap. Looking for the overextension. Always, Takakesho had, for the longest time, what I call the best Hatakikomi sidestep lateral in the sport of sumo. It was so good. It's so sharp. I think he wins the fight with this here, right? I'm pretty sure I remember this fight was one of those insane sidestep wins. But look at the tempo. Yeah, there it is. And then he sees the overextension. He realizes this is exactly the right timing. I faked him out. I changed my tempo. I move fast. Like hit, hit, wait, hit, wait, hit, 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 wait, hit. always changing up the tempo, confusing the opponent. This will bait out the overextension. And then you're straight down. Beautiful sumo. This is the Takakeisho that I fell in love with. This is the Takakeisho that made Ozaki. The Takakeisho we see now, if we go back to that video, we don't see any of that. This is not the video. Is he the next fight? No, this is day 5. Let's just look at Takakeisho's day 5. I'm pretty sure this was bad too. No, he won. Wait, did he win that 5? Takakeisho. No, he lost to day 5. Mitakumi. Let's see. Okay? Mitakumi, actually, pretty good showcase. I remember that fight now. That was good. Here he is, right? So we see him move in. We see the hit. Where's the distance? No, he moves in, keeps pushing, keeps pushing. Mitakumi is winning space. What are you doing? Are you going to limit your losses? Are you going to take any kind of control? We're not seeing control. We're not seeing control. We're not seeing control. He's just letting him move forward. Completely. Now he's just body's way too high. He overextended. There's no plan. There's no strategy. He just went in with full force. His body was off angle, and so the force won't translate to actual movement. And he just moved up. Body too high. It's over. I don't like seeing this from Takakeisho. This is not the Takakeisho I fell in love with. I think that he's sort of been on a trajectory of this stylistic change from his wave sumo, as I called it, the tempo shifts, to this more straightforward, I just want to power win every fight, ever since he made Ozaki. When he made Ozaki, it's like all that like strategy and beautiful movement and footwork and tempo and the sidestep hatakikomi, it just got pulled out of his game, and now he just became this, can I win every fight in 2 seconds moving forward? And I don't like that. It's not as consistent. It's not as great. It's not... It's something that he can use to more effectively route all the like M4 and down guys, but he cannot use it to like consistently beat a Hakuho, beat a Mitakumi. Like he can get wins off of them, but he won't consistently beat them. And as you can see, even Okinomi, let's look at that fight. That was another great one to showcase Takakeisho's lack of just strategy. Here he is, right? We see him. He moves in for the Tachiai. There's no distance. He just keeps pushing. He keeps pushing, keeps pushing, keeps pushing, keeps pushing. He doubles down once again. Okinomi gets the grip. At this point, you're given a grip. What happened to the Takakeisho Nishinoju match? Who would hit, move back, deny the grip, never let the opponent get the grip. You suck when the opponent gets the grip. He gives up his belt, and then he tries to pivot. Takakeisho's trying to throw Okinomi. In what universe would that ever work? This is a man who spent his entire career, that's 10 years longer than Takakeisho's, mastering a top division level of Yotsu Sumo. Takakeisho's a pure Oshi guy. You're never going to win this. Never! You're chest to chest with Okinomi. You have no chance. He has your belt. You're hopeless. You try a pivot throw. You're not going to win that. You're too short. He falls. Absolutely not the Takakeisho I like seeing. So, can he pull out of the pack? No. Like, this is how he lost to Tokushoryu on day 15 in Hatsu as well. It was just a lack of strategy. He has charged the Tokushoryu's chest and hoped that would shove him out. No, Tokushoryu actually has a little bit of a Yotsu game. Got a grip, moved him out. Okay, Takeyasu, what even are you right now? The answer is injured. Let's take a look at this. This is painful to watch, right? So what happens is, see right here, they get into a Yotsu match. Kakuryu, of course, the master of basics, was the 50-0. Like, it was 50-0 in practice, right? We barely talked about him in the Yokozuna section, actually. Kakuryu is looking good. I actually predicted a Kakuryu Yusho coming into this tournament. I thought it was about time for him to show up. I read the practice reports. He was 50-0. I was thinking, hey, Haru Basho will have no crowd. It will feel more like practice. I think that practice reports will probably be a little bit more accurate than usual for the stage performance, right? So I was high on Kakuryu, and we'll get him into a basics match with Takayasu. And Takayasu is sliding down the rankings. Let's not watch them just battle for too long. I messed up. Takayasu charges. of course, he charges into a Kakuryu who has a lot of space on the doyo. And then we see this twist down from Kakuryu. It's like this Hineri attempt, right? Just there we go. And then he during the like Hineri attempt that I think it was at least, he finds the opening for just a push down. However, Takayasu is attempting like the endo pillar, the endo leg pillar, but he just can't pull it off because as we see here, right here, his body's just way to look at the feet just getting stuck. This muscle's entirely pulled out. That's the injury right there. And that is Takayasu out of the tournament. Look at him. You can hear him screaming, right? Like, because there's no crowd, you can actually hear just how hurt he is. He could not stand up. It's over. And like, this is him just coming back from an injury and looking terrible on the return. And then he gets injured again. Like, what I'm hearing is that his hamstring was pulled. Like, he has pulled the muscle. That's what the commentator said on day 5. I don't see Takayasu sticking in it. Like, look at his rank. He's going to be gone the whole tournament, right? There's no way he comes back. Absolutely no way. He is currently, Takayasu is at M1. Now, at M1, he won't hit Yuryu, right? You usually need, like, we've seen guys hit Yuryu from M4 with an injury and 0 wins. We've seen it done from M5. At M1, I think he ends up around this space, right? Takayasu is going to hit M14 to M16. Probably. With a 0-5-10. That's just like that will really be the final test, right? Because then we'll get to see, like, is he strong enough to beat Kaisei, to beat Azumaryu, to beat I hope that Kuroshoho comes up next time. I'm really hoping for him to just, you know, like 14-1 Yusho in Juryo and just come up. Teruno Fuji, however, it's coming back again. Koronowaka looking like a strong rookie, you know, like is he strong enough in this field? Because if he isn't, that's just Intai, right? Like, he's young, but I don't think that, like, Takayasu, I don't think he pulls a Tochinoshin. I just don't see it. Like, he might. I'd be happy if he does. I love Takayasu. I love his sumo. It's very fun. It's different. He's 30 years old. He definitely, like if he wasn't as injured as he is, he could probably have, like, 4 more years of sumo in him at least. He could probably have had 4 more years of Ozeki. But he was at Ozeki for this time. He had 3 Junjushos as an Ozeki. All of them 12-free. I don't know, man. Like, it's not looking hot for Takayasu. He's injured. That's just it. He's injured once again. And he didn't look too hot in the fights before either. His previous strength in the Frantic bout, because of his good ring sense, is now looking like weakness. Because his ring sense is bad. And he still fights in fights that are entirely dominated by ring sense. So, can Mitakumi give me a reason to stop forgetting him? Well, he's 5-0. Officially remembered him. Who has he beaten? Quality of wins. He beat Enho. That was dominant. He has pushed him and Enho just flew out of the ring, dude. It was beautiful. He beat Abi, who's sort of slumping still, but it looked good. He beat Shodai. We already saw him beat Takakeisho, a Takakeisho that didn't look real. But let's watch him fight Yu Takayama. I thought this was an interesting matchup. Right? Let's watch how Mitakumi beat Yu Takayama. Right here, right? So Yu Takayama's over here. We saw him before.
この御嶽海も本当に勢いに乗りますとババババババッとして白星がつながっていく力士ですから。
He's just a steady move forward. Now, Mitakumi is really good at just one-directional, I will move. You can even see it if you see the whole fight, right? Full speed. He is center, stable, keeps pushing, struggling, and moves him out. This is strong Mitakumi forward sumo. Strong legs, upper body that just twists and turns all over the place. Very consistently. Good control. Looks fine. Giving me a reason to start forgetting him. Definitely. Looking really good. What's the next storyline that we're looking at? Can Kiribayama follow up his rookie success? Well, Kiribayama is now at 3-2. He lost to Takanosho. That looked bad. He beat Tamawashi, which looks good. He lost to Tochinoshin, which is not okay. Let's actually watch what happened there. Because that bout was hilarious. Here's the fight. We see him right here. And this is just such a... Tochinoshin's not strong right now. He's looking pretty weak. But this is just young guys' first fight against a man whose entire brand of sumo he has not faced before. Tochinoshin, the forklift man, just... You need to be scared of his grip. You know how to fight him strategically. You can know these things. But Kiribayama comes in. He's just not strategically up to date, it looks like, in this fight. So he goes in. He instantly gives Tochinoshin the outside right. Which is not Tochinoshin's favorite stance, by the way. He actually likes the outside left. So he gets shift. He has the outside left right here. Gets the inside right. Kiribayama just completely eating it up, eating this outside left super strongly. And move. Out, done, finished. That looked really bad for Kiribayama. But I also think that if they have a rematch, I don't think it goes the same way. First time fighting Tochinoshin, you have to be ready, right? But then he beat Sadanome, he beat Tochiwo-san. I thought they were scrappy fights, but they were fine. This also Takanosho was pretty weak. Let's check that out. Takanosho Kiribayama should be... Here it is. See what we learn. Yeah, this is just the Kiribayama spin fail, right? So, Kiribayama is a guy who likes to twirl. This is why he, on day 1, wins by Okuridashi. On day 2, on day 1 loses by Okuridashi. On day 2, wins by Okuridashi. I cannot keep my words apart today. But he has... Why does he spin here? Let's figure that out, okay? So he's coming and we're moving backwards. Right here. Let's look. He gets a shove here. In this position, pretty much every other wrestler pivots back like this and tries to push in this direction. Not Kiribayama. Kiribayama's like, hey, if I spin around right here, I can duck. I think this is what his move is, right? I can duck under him and push him out in this direction. That would be beautiful. I can get on his back. I can okuridashi him on the other side. How does that work out for you, man? He spins. He's get pushed mid-spin. Gets way too far in this direction. He wanted to spin here, I think. He wanted to spin like... Let's see. Let's keep these lines out, right? He's right here. I think that what he's looking for is to just twirl and get into this position. Instead, he gets caught mid-spin, of course. Moves back here. And he's just out. Okuridashi. Not what you want to see as a Kiribayama fan. So, but here's the thing. He was doing this last match too, and he still got 11-4. So, he could still be surprising people. He's fighting Shoho-san tomorrow. A guy that is definitely looking more down than up, as you can see by his 1-4. So I think that he's following it up. It's not that he's not following it up, you know? Like, looks fine. Will Koto Shogeki do bad enough to Intai? This was brought up because he's at M13. If he goes something like his previous records, let's see what he's been getting recently. Recently, he's been getting 6-9, 6-9, 7-8. So it's looking pretty badly, right? But hasn't been getting terrible numbers. He's been getting bad numbers. But a lot of people I knew were saying like, hey, this might just be where he gets a 3-12 and he's just out, you know? And if he falls to Yuryo, will he do anything? No, in Yuryo he'll probably Intai. That's a lot of people's guess. He won't honor his commitment to Toyonoshima. I don't put my money on him honoring his commitment to Toyonoshima, right? Like, Toyonoshima didn't Intai falling out of Juryo, specifically citing his old promise to Kota Shogaku that they'd fight again or something. Like, I don't know the details. But I like, all the honor to Toyonoshima, but like, Kota Shogaku, if he loses like Heagashira, hasn't he already? Yeah, like Koruyuka was Heagashira last time. And now Kota Shogaku probably has it back. Yeah, I think he has it back. Let's just put in Heia. Refresh Bansuke. Oops. Sado. Whoa. We're all over the place. Yeah, he has Heagashira right now. But like, losing it to Koruyuka was one thing, right? Last time. But losing it to like Koronawaka, that's a different thing. I think that's very different. It's not looking good for him. So that was a collection of all the storylines I was looking out for. A little bit of why I cared about them. Let's just have a quick look at the Bansuke, see if there's anyone else that I really want to look at their fights. There is actually. I want to look at Onosho's fights. And Aoyama I don't want to look at. I think that he's going to be like a Terushi of this tournament, where he does really well. One of these is a Fusen as well, remember that. That's also the case for Asuneyama, of course, but Asuneyama has higher quality wins. Aoyama, I think, is just beating up on low-ranking guys right now, and he won't be able to keep that up. But Onosho, I actually really like what he's been showing me. So let's look at which people he beat, right? He beat Myogiryu, Kagayaki, Abi, Ryuden, Tamawashi. Now, Kagayaki is another guy. I really don't like Kagayaki. I think his style of sumo was terrible. I think it's neutralizing, boring stuff. But, so I was happy to see him lose to Onosho, who's the literal opposite of him. Onosho is just all out, make it till you break it kind of sumo. But let's look at his fight against, against Abi. He is face planted. That's just what Onosho will do, 1 in 3 bouts. Onosho, let's go back to the circle, right? He's the kind of guy who, if you look at him in pink, really strong here. In this whole area, like Onosho always goes straight forward, so it's very easy to like, you know, shadow box him, right? Here we'll go straight forward, hitting as far as he can. In this zone, he has a big tendency to face plant. We talked about it earlier in the video. In this zone, I think he's pretty strong again. So we have like the zone of death right here for Onosho. Let's just see if I can do this. Like a one-piece skull. There we go. There we go. This is way too slow. Hope you're entertained. At this point, you got this far in the video. I don't care anymore. This is zone of death. If he can get through here, he's fine. Let's look at one of his fights. Let's look at Onosho fighting. Let's watch him fight Ryuden. A belt guy. And maybe Tamawashi. Nah, let's look at the Kagayaki fight. Screw it. Let's just do it. Let's rip off the band-aid. Let's watch Kagayaki on stream. Here he is. Kagayaki. What a guy. What a Rikshi. We see him fight. Onosho's strong. Really strong phase 2. Now he's in the zone of death. Kagayaki, however, not really a slapdown man. Kagayaki is usually all about stealing himself. He likes moving his arms up here. Oh, that's a terrible color. You cannot see that. He's all about moving his arms up here in front of his chest, keeping everything in power circle, having just enough lean to be strong but not overextend, and then just waddle forward like a duck driving duck driving a lawnmower until he can move out. It's neutralization. It's very, very defensive sumo. It's very boring. But Onosho, see, you see the Kagayaki defensive lawnmower drive here, the duck waddling. Onosho's driven back. Now, because he's not slapped down, Onosho's not actually in danger. He moves sideways. He has a great phase 4 lateral here. Look at this lateral. It's not Onosho's style usually to do these laterals, but he has pulled them out on occasion. He also has pulled out some actual throws, like swing down throws. He had a great Uwatanage on Goeido to end his career on day 15 in Hatsu. Look at this lateral. Let's face it. He predicts it. Kagayaki does an uncharacteristic overextension. Probably because he's not expecting the giant phase 4 lateral from Onosho. He nails his footing perfectly with the ring sense. Really good ballerina stuff. And it's just over. I think that's really good. I do want to see a standard Onosho drive out though. So let's actually watch day 1. Skip to Onosho. He has Myogiri here, right? Bit of an all-rounder. Let's see the fight. Move. Myogiri actually gets in on him. Oh, that wasn't one of the driver. That was one of his... that was him getting, like, pulling the pivot again. That was one of those swing down throws, right? The yeah, he gets the Shitatanage here by... It's honestly, like this is what I meant. He has those weird pivots, right? That was one of his swing downs. Was it day 4 that he has charged then? I guess it's you then. Earlier, here it is. Like, I want to see. He had one classic Onosho match. I know that for sure. Straightforward. There we go. Look at that. That's Onosho, right? That's him driving. So he actually has deflected a bit in the beginning here. But this is good. This is Onosho evolving. This is him fighting his phase 3 offensive weakness. He actually gets to be defensive in phase 3 here. Moves sideways, he laterals, doesn't really get anything, gets positioning. And then, like, we talked about the space, right? Like, Ryuden has the Hakuho spacing here, where Onosho has to drive him across the entire stadium. What he doesn't have is good arm positioning. He doesn't have them chest to chest. He's more spaced out. Because of that, Onosho is free to drive him all the way out without any kind of overextension. Feet straight down, looking very good. Good Onosho. And then on day 3, he of course absolutely face planted right in Abi's face. This is Onosho as well. This is the oh no show. He moves and slips. That's Onosho, right? That's what he always does. Beautiful, beautiful face planting. I think that's it. That was my breakdown analysis of day 1 to 5 of Sumo. The Haru Basho 2020, the crowdless Basho. I'll see you again on day 10, and we'll talk about it more.